He said, "Wow, man. Is it still surprising at this point? Sure isn't. You literally still don't understand why Cap was kneeling on one knee. It had nothing to do with disrespect of the flag of the United States and our soldiers, men and women," good point, LeBron, "who keep our land free. My father-in-law," he said, "was one of those men who fought as well for this country. I asked him a question about it and thank him all the time for his commitment. He never found Cap's peaceful protest offensive because he and I both know what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. God bless you." Now, of course, Brees issued an apology this morning, which read in part, quote, "I would like to apologize to my friends, teammates, the city of New Orleans, the Black community, NFL community, and anyone I hurt with my comments yesterday. In speaking with some of you, it breaks my heart to know the pain I have caused. I made comments that were insensitive, completely missed the mark on the issues we are facing right now as a country." So, Stephen A., what is your reaction to this domino and conversation among some of the biggest athletes we have, LeBron James and Drew Brees?
Well, first of all, one of the things that I want to say is that LeBron James once again showed incredible class in undressing Drew Brees because he addressed him in a very, very classy manner, but made sure his point was salient and to the point. We all know that Drew Brees, this is not his finest day. He was incredibly tone deaf, lacking significant empathy, and that's really, really unfortunate. The flip side to this is that we all win from the standpoint that it still continues to open up a conversation that needed to be had. Obviously, it highlights the need to address a lot of things in a lawful fashion in terms of laws that need to be implemented in our country. Like, for example, I've been on the air, Rachel and Jay and RJ, basically saying that I want police brutality against unarmed black men to be designated as a federal hate crime. I think that should happen. And so the kind of conversations that are taking place right now, because people are really putting their ignorance on display, is something that could end up being incredibly beneficial to us all, because the African American community has been speaking about this for quite some time. And we have not had the listening ears that we've needed to have on this matter. And I think all of that is in the process of significantly changing.
Yeah, Stephen A., you're right. And I think, like you said, there are things to take from this. And I think the one positive thing that we can take from this is we can see how an individual like Drew Brees, who is one of the most respected men in all of sports, one of the most respected men in the city of New Orleans, and what he's meant to that town and what he's meant to that community, really just not fully understand the point. And I think that's where Cap's message was lost multiple times, is because people didn't fully understand, and it was always twisted and it was turned. So I think when you have a guy like Drew Brees step up and say what he said, it was from a place of just not understanding the true point. He is right. He should be emotional about what his grandfathers did and how they fought in World War II. But also he needs to respect the people that fought next to his grandfather, that were of African American descent or from other cultures, and helped save, America. And then when you go forward, they came back to this country and didn't have the same rights, didn't have the same opportunities. So that's the message that he just needed to hear and understand. No one's taking away his experience, but he has to respect other people's experience. So if Drew Brees helps us continue this conversation, continue the education of what's wrong with systemic racism in this country, then I think there's something positive. And then kudos to him for listening, understanding, and then stepping up and issuing an apology that he needs to be more educated. And the last thing I'll say is this: Drew Brees is the father of 3 boys, right? His impact on those 3 young men and helping them understand that, yes, there are multiple things that go on in this country, but his impact at home in raising 3 young men, that can further this and help improve this country. And I think that's an important thing that we need to understand.
Absolutely. He has a lovely daughter too now. And guys, I think you're right. It's so hard right now to feel like there's progress. It can be very hard to wake up every day and see what is going on and what has been going on. And the big progress we need to make is still to come. So I am just happy to see any little millimeter, right? And I do think it is a millimeter of progress that a few years ago when Cap was kneeling and somebody came out and said, hey, that's disrespecting the flag or the military, there wasn't enough of an echo response that they came back the next day and apologized. We did not see that happen. So the fact that now we see the progress of when someone comes out and says that and confuses the issue and doesn't understand what is being protested and discussed here, and there is enough of a response and enough of their teammates and enough people around them grab them by the lapels and say, no, I need you to listen, and it's effective, and he comes out the next day and says, I've heard it, I've changed my mind. That's just not something we saw 4 years ago. So I'm going to take the millimeter when I can get it, and I still want the whole foot, I want the whole yard, I want the whole mile. I still want to keep going. All right, let's switch back to the NBA because Woj reporting that the Blazers were the one team that voted against the 22-team format that got approved today in the Board of Governors. They just felt there were better options on the table. They said their players had a voice in this. Are they right, Richard?
Well, I don't know what those other options are, right? We heard Stephen A go off on all of the extra incentives for teams with home court. I can
think they were talking about getting more of a chance to play into the final playoff spot.
Well, I'm just saying that there were so many things thrown up against the wall, and there are still more questions
Yes.
to how this thing is going to go down. So am I surprised that one team was like, well, of all the options we saw, we don't feel like this is the best? I think the Blazers knew for a fact that this was going to get through. I think this vote of no was more of like a symbolic one. Not that they weren't trying to play or not be a part of it. They just wanted to say that, hey, we believe that there were better plans out.
How about this answer, Rachel and Richard? Who cares what they think? They're 29-37 when the season was suspended. They're 8 games under 500. They're lucky to be participating in this format that gives them an opportunity to get into the postseason. Love Dame, love CJ, and my man Melo, of course. But you're lucky you're even getting to play. I'm sorry. I don't care if they were put in a Motel 6. I really don't care. I don't want to hear anything. It doesn't matter to me. Please, they lucky they playing.